Good afternoon, good morning, hello. Bonjour, ¿cómo estás? Salam alaikum. Saying hello to you from wherever you are joining us from. And maybe I should try what I see the younglings doing and say, hi guys. Well, that sounds very interesting. This is a storytelling forum. Welcome to another episode of the 360-degree brand story, where brands come alive one brush stroke at a time. What happened to my brush? I was supposed to have a brush today. I will make sure I look for it. I thought I was sitting here with it. But welcome to the 360-degree brand story, a bi-weekly conversation about the comprehensive nature of storytelling. Every second and fourth Wednesday of the month, and not just once upon a time. Up the hills lived. In the times of Methuselah, in the village of Mesopotamia. Storytelling is a powerful way for us to sell ourselves daily, talk to our partners, children, teams, customers, investors, partners, regulators. And in the 360-degree brand story, we look at the different dimensions of storytelling and how they help us to execute strategy, either as an individual, as business, or as family. And we thank you for subscribing to our channel and joining us to listen to the nuggets of wisdom that are always poured out by the person on the hot seat who tells us once upon a time in the land of the great and the living, things happened. Products came, products went, and we had to execute our strategy. My name is Joe Mukoko, your host. The story is hosted by Akiko, part of the African MSME Collective, and Akiko thrive in helping you tell your stories, asking you the relevant questions to help you tell your stories right. If you've watched our previous episodes, you've seen origin of the story and story of origin. If not, go back, watch those episodes. Very, very, very informative. And in the hot seat today is the one and only moderator par excellence, international facilitator, master trainer, great orator, storyteller, and she started telling stories at 9 months old. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Chesubire Craig. Chesubire, tell us a bit about yourself.
I should have never told you that 9 months old thing.
But now you became a storyteller at 9 months. Now, no wonder you even teach us about storytelling. What are we supposed to do?
Thank you, Joe. It's always a pleasure to be here. Today, I'm short of words, so I'll give it back to you.
You just don't tell us a story, but for sure, a story is coming. We have been talking about storytelling and building our teams, building our businesses. The common denominator in all these activities is the customer. Customer. They say the customer is king, the customer is queen. They say the customer is always right. I am doing this for the customer. My customers told me to change. My customers gave me feedback. The reviews from my customer on my social media pages, everything seems to revolve around the customer. And allow me to just ask you, why should we focus on the customer? And who is this customer?
If we go back to why we start businesses, and we discuss a lot of this on our other channel, the Africa MSME Collective channel, we teach a lot about the importance of having a customer. And it's simple. No customer, no business. The reason we exist as business owners, as solution providers, is because there's a need that we are specially skilled to meet. And there are people who are willing and able to pay for that solution. So if I'm willing and able to pay for your gas, for instance, it means you need to understand me and meet that need consistently, and then we'll be in business. It also means that there is a way you must talk to me to upsell me, to keep me. And I'll give you an example of my gas guy. So I've been buying gas from the same guy for maybe about 5-6 years. And I was buying gas elsewhere, and he was a parent in the school where my son used to go when he was in primary school. So we met one day at a parents' meeting, and he was very forward about his gas. I ignored him. But then he would call me once a month and greet me in my father's native language. I'm cross-cultural, so we've got 2 native languages. He greet me in my father's native language, and we developed that conversation. And then my son was going for camp, vacational Bible club at church, and what are the odds that this guy is the guy who was dropping and picking kids? So now I understood his forwardness is just a function of his personality. So one day my gas ran out, like 8:15 p.m. Most guys are closed by 8. It was a few years ago, now they close later. And I called him and I said, hi, perchance would you have some gas you can bring for me? I know you're closed. He said, we are closed, but I have a cylinder I was to deliver in the morning. Let me bring it to you because it's already in my car, and I'll sort out the other person in the morning. So it's like, I'm a little far, but you'll definitely get your gas in the next 20 minutes. True to his word, 20 minutes later, he himself, business owner, delivered the gas to my doorstep. Suffice it to say, the end, because everyone would be like, oh, we closed, and my rice was on the fire. It was, rice was done, stew was not made, all those things you're doing as a mother making dinner. So the next time I wanted gas, I messaged him. Can I get gas? He's like, I'm not in office, but let me send somebody to you. Within 2 minutes, somebody from his office called me and they were like, okay, we're bringing, and they've been consistent ever since. Now, if that day I called him and he said, oh, no, we can't, I'd be frustrated, I'd be stranded, I'd had looked for something else to feed my family, but I'd have known, he says, he talks a big story, but he doesn't deliver. So the customer focus is right because your customer is it. People say customer is king, customer is, I say your customer is it. One of my friends looking at my business said, until the day you make a sale, don't tell me you have a business. So I went and I said, I've made a sale. And he said, okay, now you must work to keep the customer in the fold. So we have to be customer focused in all our storytelling because customer is it. Now, there are multiple layers of customers. Remember in one of the earlier episodes when we introduced storytelling, I believe it's episode 1 or 2, we said storytelling is not just a marketing function. Storytelling is everything you pour out of yourself, everything. It's your mood, it's your attitude, it's your tone, it's how you dress, it's how you speak to people. Because we have multiple audiences. We have ourselves first, how we speak to ourselves. Then we have immediate family and extended family. Then we have the team, we have our customers, and we have the world. The customers is where the money comes from. So even as all of them are important, we must be customer focused. So when I'm talking to my son about why I'm leaving early, the story I'll tell him is if mommy doesn't go to work, there'll be no food. And I've told him that for the last 16 years, from when he was 1. So now he would come and ask me, Mommy, did you work? That question is, Mommy, is there going to be food at the end of the week? That's really the question, right? My family would call family meetings and I'm unavailable. But why? You're always working, right? I needed to inspire my team to deliver well, and I needed to inspire that paying customer to ensure that they remain true. So whichever public you're talking to, you have to have the clear focus. But the most critical story you tell is to your paying customer, which includes how your teams deal with them. Ooh, that is a bad one sometimes. You walk into a shop and then people just look at you like, Ini pesa ngapi? How much is this? 200, 200. And they're looking the other way, like, and you're like, do you want to sell? Are you trying to chase me away? There's actually a shop I call the owner instead of going because I don't like the staff member she has. And I'm like, hi, are you there? Okay. So I want 1, 2, 3. I negotiate my price in advance. Then I go and I pick. Because it's a space where they're able to offer discounts. So I go and I pick and I pay M-Pesa. It is very rare unless it's the meds that it's a chemist. So I walk in. So nowadays her staff member asks me, Beyakoni, what's your price? I'm like, this is how much I normally pay. And she's bored of me because she then discounts. But she's also not nice about not giving discounts. So that for me is why we must focus on customers. Your customer is it. The end. The end.
Before you get to the end, you said Miambili. What is Miambili?
Miambili is 200 shillings.
Oh, thank you.
It's 200. So it could be shillings,
Okay.
it could be people, it could be pieces. Miambili is 200.
Okay. Thank you. And I love that you've said the customer is it. That means then we need to build a customer-centric culture because the customer is it. Start, pause, stop. The customer is it. How can we go about then embracing them and including them in our brand building journey?
I think there are 4 critical things we must do. Number 1 is to understand your customer. Many of us are amorphous. We say, I sell to everyone. Not true. If you sell to everyone, you sell to no one. Oh my goodness. So I'll give an example. If you say everybody buys milk, then why do we have 15 brands of milk? There are about 15 brands. In fact, I saw a new brand last week called Yeyo. Like Yeyo ni nani? Who is Yeyo? But it's a brand that is from Nyahururu. So it must be selling in Nyahururu that they're big enough to be carried in Naivas, one of our major retail chains. So if you say you're selling to everybody, then you're selling to no one. Because my default, I know there are brands of milk I don't touch with a 100-foot pole. Because from the taste, I doubt its production process. The milk I buy, I would buy the cheapest brand I would bring for people. You know, the plastic sachets. The customers in my house told me, Mom, stop it. Bring Tetra Pak. But then when I asked them why, and it was a logical reason. We don't open a packet and finish it. We open a packet and it goes like through a day and a half because the milk drinkers in our family are not that many. So the Tetra Pak one is able to stand behind like a bottle of something in the fridge. The other one, you must look for container because it's the oil pack. Is the price different? Yes, like 2 to 3 shillings different per packet, and you want me to buy a box of 12. So then now I've adjusted to buying the one they want. If you allow them, they want the full cream one. You know, KCC Gold Crown? Excellent milk. Very. I look at the price, I'm like, you're crazy. I'm not buying that thing. But whenever I find it on special, I'll pick it because I know there are people in the ecosystem who like it. So you must understand your customer. If you bring that into who you're selling to, you need to know what problem or pain they have, how the solution you have meets the pain, where they want it delivered, in what package, how often, at what price. So to be customer-centric, you know that whole research we all do for marketing and product placement, bring it into your comms. Because in your storytelling side, you're able to say, our customer is the woman 24 to 65 who is able to buy the X packet of milk at 60 shillings for half a liter. Now think about it. In the same Naivas, they have the packet milk, but in certain supermarkets, they have the milk ATM. And the milk in the ATM is cheaper because what they are doing is ensuring that me who wants to spend 80 bob a liter as opposed to 54 for the half-liter Tetra Pak, I can find the product there. But they never do an advert or a comm strategy around the ATM milk. No. The respective milk brands will publicize their milk and give special offers. I have rarely seen a special offer at the ATM. But every week, different brands have special offers on their products. And then they have in-house salespeople to be encouraged and say, hi, this one is on sale this week. Can you buy it? You know? So that's all, even as it's a marketing conversation, it's a storytelling conversation. I don't know how many times you've gone to especially it happens a lot on the laundry soap aisle. So you find this week 2 different brands have merchandisers in the shop. Now, I am not going to buy certain brands. When it comes to soap, I'm brand loyal. I'm not brand loyal on many things, but soap, I'm brand loyal. And I'm with that brand for a different reason. So what do I find myself doing? I find myself wishing them a good day and a blessing that they will be able to merchandise and sell. Whereas the brand I'm loyal to, what I'm doing when I'm looking there is looking at the promotional stickers, which one gives me the better price. But why am I loyal to that brand? Because the brand, when it first came out, it spoke to my need for fabric softener that smells absolutely amazing, but doesn't choke you, number one. And 2, it doesn't affect the skin. So it doesn't really matter what else is in the market. Unless, like the day they were testing a new brand, so we bought it. That brand did for us Majaboos. It was turning white clothes like a shade of purple. So I am not going back there. And I think now when I think about it, it has some blue. You know the blue, the thing that helps you brighten colors when you're washing clothes. But it just turned clothes purple. It was insane. Anyway, so this is the whole conversation of you must understand your customer. That's point number 1. How do you understand your customer? You must interact with them. So I've given some examples. You can do focus groups, you can do surveys, you can run polls, you can do in-store testing if you're a physical product that you can test. I'll give another example. There's a lady I mentored. I eventually was her mentor. I don't know if you know the brand Frozen Isle. They do vegetables, pre-cooked vegetables for the busy urban woman.
Yes.
So you will not find them in a shop in the village. They're in the major supermarket chains. Now, when I met the lady, I understood she has one merchandiser who, whatever shop you go in, she moves volumes. They had some stuff prepared. So I went, I looked at it, and she upsold. My friend, I was not planning to buy that brand at all. But she's like, we have small quantities. You can try. You can. I was like, well. But she was very clear. Their focus is on the busy urban woman who wants healthy, well-selected food. And they've reduced it to peas and carrots. They have vegetables, the traditional vegetables that you must go and have a lot of time, first of all, removing them from the stalk, then cutting, then boiling, then packing. And they've taken the vegetables a step further, and they know you may not need to cook all this, so they now have the vegetables in bowls. So instead of defrosting the whole pack and it getting messed because it has to refreeze, you take out the half kilo is maybe 6 balls, the other is 12 balls. So I know for my family, if I take out 4, we are fine. Or if it's me alone at lunchtime, I can take out 1 and be fine. But how did they test it? By putting it in a space where the customer is, and then sending in people who could talk to the customers in a tone, feel, and language they could understand. So you deep dive and understand your customer, then you go and talk to your customer. You ask questions, you get feedback. And then you look at what your competitors are doing. Recently, we're putting together a proposal for, it's a group of companies that do a lot of things within their fold. And when we're looking at their digital marketing strategy, what we looked at is what are other people in their sector doing? And then which of those actions resonate with them? And how can we take some of those common tactics within their sector and tweak it? I remember the example I gave maybe 2 or 3 shows ago of all milk packets in Kenya that I've seen have either blue, green, or white with a black writing, or all of them for fresh milk. For yogurt and everything, please go and do whatever color you want. But for the fresh milk packet, there's only one brand that is strongly yellow, Gold Crown. Everyone else seems to stay in the blue, green, white, black range. And most of them is blue, green, white, text black, or green, white, black text. When you go to the market of the milking jellies, they're all in a certain style of container with a green label with a cow, because we milk cows here. We don't milk goats a lot, you get. So it is so customer driven. And there's a young lady I mentored once, and they were in the milking jelly market. And when they launched their brand, they had this cool design. When they went to their market, because in the urban areas, a different brand had taken hold, they went to the rural areas, and they're like, what is this? So they said, Lakinini milking jelly. Oh, Kama, or like, and they mentioned the other brand, right? And she tried to sell it, and the feedback from the market was, make it look like that one, that one. So they went and they had to find, because people were resistant to, how is it that it doesn't look like that one? So what they ended up doing is they designed a brand that was similar color. It had to feature a cow because the other brand features a cow. So you see, you have to be customer-centric, because when they were trying to explain the benefits of the product, people used and said, it is a good thing, but it needs to look like that one so that we can believe it's the same sector. So if they were not customer focused, she would have said, but I already have labels. It will not sell now. It would sell. And the final thing now in terms of your storytelling journey on your customer focus is then to train your teams on these things you found. A common conversation, and we're seeing it in Kenya, Gen Zs speak a certain language and Gen Xs speak a language that no longer exists in the mind of Gen Zs. But we must bridge the gap. Unless we teach the Xs to take a deep breath, put their ego aside, and listen to understand, and then teach the Gen Zs to put their ego aside, because there's ego on both sides, and listen to understand, it's a losing battle. It's a losing battle. And then we understand that Gen Zs are looking for action fast. Stop talking. You say you want to build the company, build now, bring the work, right? Bring the business, pay us, then we can do things, right? But you see, we have to build team cohesion around what we have learned. So for instance, you're working for like, I'll use one of my projects. I work for a couple of professional corporate brands, and one is a legal firm. I want to compare that. KCB has a very playful persona. It's Swahili, it's Sheng, we call it mchongwa, no, it's teasing one another. My West African brothers and sisters, it's gisting. The whole corporate brand is one long gist, one long one. My client, who is a law firm, just doesn't fly in that sector. So when I bring on the Gen Zs to work on that project, it pulls their hairs because they're like, it's not fun. I'm like, this is about knowledge sharing. It's not about fun. So I have to bring my team with me. In fact, one of my Gen Zs said to me, "Hey, your clients are difficult." I said, yes, they are. Because it's a completely different conversation. But if I try to go to the same client and use the gisting template or the mchongwa no template, I will be fired today. Not tomorrow, today. Why? Because it's just the nature of their sector. We expect our lawyers to show up in a certain way, position themselves even online in a certain way. So that is why customer focus is important, because your customer is it. But for your customer to be it, it means you have to meet their need where they want it met. You know, you find when brands are growing, some of them go and start outside the urban areas because there's less competition, and then come and flood the market because the need for that product is universal. But who can bring it in? I'll give one last story. There are two brands of flour, Dollar and Pembe. When they started, because Nairobi was saturated, they went to the outskirts. So Dollar started with amazing maize flour. And I remember going to see friends in Kisumu and going to the village, and people were talking about Dollar. The ugali was amazing. I'm like, what is this? They're like, it's called Dollar. I'm like, dollar as in dollari, as in D-O-L-L-A-R? They're like, no, D-O-L-A. Like, okay. And then, there was a wheat flour. I came back to Nairobi and I could not find Dollar. Could not. So I went back to my usual, I use Jogo and Pembe, I think. That's what I used to use. So I went back to the usuals, but the taste was different. About 6 months later, Dollar showed up in my local supermarket. And I made to understand that people from your villages and mine, they would come and ask, Hakuna Dollar? There's no Dollar. So guys are like, what is Dollar? Then they're told it's a maize flour. Same thing with Ajab. Ajab started at the coast. And then we all go to Mombasa for the holidays. We're enjoying this really, really nice chapatis, mahamris, all those things. And then we come up and we're like, you don't have Ajab. What have they done? They've understood what we want. They're not in our locality, but now because they have, we have tasted them down there. So then we begin to ask for them in a different location and they come to where we are. So customer focus in storytelling is critical, because I may sound like I'm talking about building your business structures. But remember, we say we use storytelling to implement strategy. So then if we want to increase our sales, how have we trained our teams to meet with this customer who we have so well defined that we understand them, and when they pass by us, we smell them. We don't have to see them, right? It comes down to defining what your product is, what need it meets, and giving the right language to communicate that. It comes down to the experience I give to my customer when they meet me, which means I must think about the stories my teams are telling. So if you're going to this section of the market, this is how you talk to them. You're going to this section of the market, this is how you talk to them. You're going to these ones, hawa ni sumbua. These ones are the difficult ones. So these are the multiple ways you reach them. You get. So that's how storytelling becomes customer focused. You are muted.
Thank you for that masterclass. I had to mute because I wanted to laugh out loud and I did not want to interfere with the conversation. You have given so many stories. For a person who started the show and said, I have nothing to say, you have said it.
Yes, I have.
What I have gotten from you is that for us to build that loyalty in our clients and make them our heroes and heroines, we need to understand them. And understanding them means we map out their journey. In mapping out their journey, we'll understand their pain points and see opportunities. I had never thought about the milk ATMs. I have never seen any supermarket actually advertising. And the lines on those ATMs are very long in the evening and in the morning.
But they don't
Testimonials can only come from our customers if we understand them.
Yes.
And meet their needs. And as you said, the customer is it. The customer is it at the beginning, at the center, and at the end of the conversation. Any nuggets of wisdom that you would like to share with us as we bring this show to a close? I have taken copious amounts of notes, and I have also figured out where I think I could be going wrong.
Should I send you an invoice for having?
Sure. I will send you dollar and ajab. like 6 months supply of each. Over to you.
Thank you. The first place I think we need to start is to understand we cannot ask for testimonials and referrals if we haven't met the need. Understand that. And customer feedback is important, so we must get feedback. So when you begin with the end in mind, I loved that book by Steve Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he says, begin with the end in mind, which means that we must map out our end game, how we want to cater for our clients. And then knowing that the goal is Garbatula, how do we get to Garbatula? We map the rest. So you could go the long route and go down, go through Hola, all the way around, or you could go the straighter route through Thika to Garissa and up. But if you don't have the end in mind, then your tactics are haphazard. So what is the end? In your communications or your storytelling journey, the end usually is a sale or awareness. There are two things. So if we want a sale, then what are the tactics that will get us to a sale? Because a sale means we must convince people to pick the product or service and put money on the table. If it's awareness, then what are we looking for? So if it's awareness, are we looking at followers? Are we looking at engagement? Are we looking at reshares or reposts? We have to define what the end matrix is. So if your business is working towards customer centricity in your communications, define what the end game is. So sales and marketing teams are not the same. First of all, let us separate that stuff. Marketing teams and communication teams develop awareness. Sales guys close. So if you come to me as a digital strategist and a social media manager and my content side, I am not there to close sales for you. I am there to generate leads. what you do with the sales, ni kazi ya sales, is the work of the sales department, okay? So we have a determined end. And I'll give an example. I worked on a conference in 2021, and the goal was to increase visibility and registrations. Now, when we began working on that as a team, it was not very difficult. We had a fantastic social media strategy, content calendar we developed with a fantastic graphic designer, and then we had marketing money. So we spent the marketing money on ads that would drive, signups. But there was a whole other team whose role was to do signups. So we were doing this strategy for 6 weeks, I believe. And we had a budget. We got sponsorship for a budget of $1,000 on digital marketing. That was amazing money because it went. But what we found is that we needed 2 kinds of content, actually 3 kinds of content, to drive engagement. So we started doing posts, online posts. We had little video clips. But we found, and this was the most amazing thing, we put up an article every week. We found international donors who we needed to fund the project showed up after we began doing the articles. So you see in there, we have the participants. The participants saw the adverts on Facebook and Instagram, and they signed up. So now the sales team had the effort of closing those sales, collecting the money. That is not our headache. We were targeting to generate visibility maybe of 10,000, look about 70,000, views, impressions across platforms. We ended up with 330,000 because of deploying multiple strategies. So when you've defined your audience, when you have defined your end game, now deploy 2 to 3 slightly different strategies to capture the different audiences. Now remember I said it was the participants. There was one location where we knew we found, and because of the demographic, the bulk of the participants we knew would be on Facebook. We knew it just because of the age. We came to Instagram because we wanted to connect to university students. So it worked, the 2-prong worked. And remember, we wrote articles on LinkedIn. I didn't define, but wrote articles on LinkedIn. And that's where donor partners, corporates looking for funding, that's where they found what they were looking for. And the articles were longer, they were heavy, they were, facts heavy, but that's what they're looking for. So you cannot be customer focused in your communication without an intimate understanding of your customer. If you get that, you're able to iterate and shift everything. So the average MSME must understand, nauzia kwa nani? Who am I selling to? And then go and deal with that person where they are. If you are rural, you will be on USSD. Don't deploy smartphone tactics for women in the village who have, we call them tululus here. Those ones, they cannot connect the net. They have a long battery life. There's one brand called a Range Rover that can keep battery for a week and a half, 2 weeks, which you find a lot of our marginalized communities use. So customer focus is critical for your campaign because it determines how to get them. Last example, and this may not sound very nice. When our Gen Zs began protesting, they were peaceful. When dissension happened was when people began to say, they come with iPhones, they are dropped by Uber, they go to Java to start and end at KFC. And then one honorable leader said, and I'll say in Kiswahili then translate, wacha hii jeshi ikuje na idil na hii jeshi ingine, waibe simu na handbags. So they were encouraging also Gen Zs, but from a different social class. So they added classism to the conversation, and they said to the young ones, so they said, let this army of young ones come and steal phones and handbags from these other ones. What they did as leaders, which we must notice and be cognizant of, they understood that there's a bunch of kids on the street from affluent homes, and they didn't feel these ones were justified to have those complaints. So they incited the ones from less affluent homes, and it became a class battle. And you remember the day when that happened. So when the hired goons are beginning to come into town, the Gen Zs, because they're monitoring everything on their smartphones, social media, I remember having an orchestrated move of guys, get out of town. Chaos is on the way. And that's the night they burnt buildings, they looted, they did stuff. That is very serious. Rudimentary, but very serious communication strategy. You know this audience, their need, you know this audience, their need, and then now you shift them and negatively engage them so that it causes chaos. So understand that your communications could cause good or bad, depending on what you said. But remember the Gen Z's response? That was not us, because we said no stealing, no insurrection, just be disciplined. And what was the instruction? They had instructions. When you see a policeman who's being brutal, sit down. Point and sit. Until they were infiltrated. So when you look at it like that, the reason I said it's bad is because we're bringing a political conversation into a storytelling conversation. But that was one of the best examples for me of customer-centric, because each side was inspired by the same ideal of unemployment, corruption, debt, but dissension was planted by taking the need of one and making the abilities or exposure of the other and turning both into bad things. And I end my submission there.
Ladies and gentlemen, what can we say? Take the nuggets and implement them in your business. Remember, understand your customers' needs. Then positively influence them to be loyal to you. This has been the 360-degree brand story, where brands come alive one brush stroke at a time, as narrated by the very able, very capable digital strategist, content guru, semi-growth consultant, influencer, facilitator, international facilitator, international master trainer, the one and only Chisubire Talitwala Greg. CEO and founder of Akiko Stories and co-founder of the African MSME Collective. Every 2 weeks, join us here for such interesting stories and nuggets that help you position your brand for growth. Positive growth, as we've been reminded. Let us use our stories for positivity. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Subscribe to our LinkedIn page to get more tips and nuggets. And if, as a corporate mogul, you're watching this, you're looking for a facilitator, you're looking for a trainer, you're looking for someone to shift the conversations in your company for growth, look no further. Na watu wa sales na marketing mumesikia. Position yourselves right for growth. Until next time, I will be Joe Mukoko, hosting the 360-degree brand story. And from us in the studio, it's au revoir, bye, kwaheri, tutaonana tena. We will see you. We'll meet again. Ciao.